Sometimes we all need a carrot that's dangling right in front of our noses to help get us out that door on a consistent basis and reach some of our goals. And so I want to dangle a little carrot in front of you here today, and I want you to put this on your calendar and join me. I am so over the top excited to invite you all to join Team Plant Strong. It is our new national movement to celebrate how the benefits of a whole food, plant strong lifestyle can keep us active and allow us to move our bodies and feel utterly fantastic. I want to invite you to train with the team and complete your choice of either a 5K, a half marathon, or even a full marathon. You take your pick of the litter. Now, our first event is going to take place here in Austin, Texas on February 19th, and you're all invited to come and finish the race in my hometown of eclectic, iconic, and the capital of Texas, Austin. But hey, I completely understand if you can't make the trip, you can still complete the goal virtually and earn a medal from this iconic first event. We'll also send you our Team Plant Strong racing shirt, and you'll get access to our training plans, coaches, and everything that's inside our private community. If you've never run before, hey, no sweat. You just get over here. Walkers, you're absolutely welcome. Beginners are more than welcome. And seasoned runners, absolutely, we would love for you to partake as we all work together towards this common goal. I can't wait to meet all of you. Come on now. Join Team Plant Strong at plantstrongfoods.com/team.
So the median age, the average age in America where you get breast cancer is 62, which actually then means that, half of women are at or above 62 and half of women are under 62. And I love dispelling this fear and myth for women because a lot of women know, 1 in 8 gets breast cancer. That ultimately is a 12.8% lifetime chance. So if you wake up every morning thinking you have a 12.8% chance of getting breast cancer diagnosed today, you might feel like you're all going to have it by next summer, right? So if you're 20 something, the chance of getting breast cancer between 20 and 30 is 1 in 1,479 women. Between 30 and 40, it's 1 in 209. Between 40 and 50, it's 1 in 65. Between 50 and 60, it's 1 in 42. Between 60 and 70, it's 1 in 28. Between 70 and 80, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
1 in 25. So this is our highest risk decade of life in which to get breast cancer, 70 to 80.
Wow.
And then 80 to 90 is 1 in 33. So when you add in all the 1-ins that I just went through, you end up with a lifetime risk of 1 in 8. But it isn't 1 in 8 every day of your life.
I'm Rip Esselstyn, and welcome to the Plant Strong Podcast. The mission at Plant Strong is to further the advancement of all things within the plant-based movement. We advocate for the scientifically proven benefits of plant-based living and envision a world that universally understands, promotes, and prescribes plants as a solution to empowering your health, enhancing your performance, restoring the environment, and becoming better guardians to the animals we share this planet with. We welcome you wherever you are on your Plant Strong journey, and I hope that you enjoy the show. I am thrilled to welcome back to the Plant Strong Podcast for not her first, not her second, but her third appearance on the show, our cancer-crushing warrior, Dr. Kristi Funk. She is a board-certified breast cancer surgeon and physician. She is a best-selling author of the book, Breasts, the Owner's Manual. She is an international keynote speaker and women's health advocate. Simply put, she is an encyclopedia of knowledge with a dynamo personality, which is why I love having her on the show to ask questions about the latest in cancer prevention research. Today, we are going to catch up on some of that research and specifically discuss 4 healthy lifestyle habits that will help minimize your risk of breast cancer while optimizing your health for the long haul. And who doesn't want those things? Now, the 4 pillars that we're going to talk about: 1, eating a plant-based diet. Well, that's obviously a bit of a no-brainer considering this is the Plant Strong Podcast. 2, why maintaining a healthy weight is so important for warding off cancer and specifically breast cancer. 3, the importance of regular exercise. And lastly, why we want to consider putting the kibosh on our alcohol consumption. And don't turn off the podcast. Just listen and take it in. Now, I want you to know that today we spend most of the time on the benefits of plants. And one of the big takeaways for me was just learning about how easy and simple additions to your diet can have really profound benefits, even if you're not plant perfect. And I'm talking about easy things like adding in a little fruit each day, or what a couple tablespoons of flax to your meals can do. But it's these little changes that can even make a huge difference in slowing down cancer and prohibiting it from growing. And that's what I love about Kristi. It doesn't matter if she's on Good Morning America, The Rachel Ray Show, which, by the way, she was just on, or the Plant Strong Podcast. She is always unapologetically promoting the benefits of plants to crush cancer. So let's get right down to it with Dr. Kristi Funk. So Kristi, this is the 3rd time that you've joined me on the podcast. The first one, it was episode number 65 for people that want to go back and check it out. Of course, we were talking all about this gorgeous piece of work, Breast, the Owner's Manual. What a gem this is, truly. After that podcast came out, I had more people that stopped me and told me how much they loved the interview. I gave away my 2 copies of the book. I just got this new one in yesterday so I could hold it up and show it to everybody. But this is a gem, an absolute gem. And then you were also on episode 114. We actually took a segment of you from Plant Stock. You joined us for Plant Stock 2021. And that was episode 114. So here we are. Who knows what episode this will be? Probably in the 180s or so. But, I wanted to revisit with you because, this message of yours it's so vitally important. I want women to hear about it. Obviously, I think you told me last time that you were on, breast cancer also affects men, right?
Indeed, it does. So it's about 1.3 out of every 100,000 men. So a far cry from the 1 in 8 for women. However, men don't realize that they have breasts. So 2,710 will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year and 530 will die. So it is important that men realize that they have breast tissue. Do you want to know a little fun fact about why that is?
Yeah, I would love to. But first, before you tell me that fun,
I'm just launching the teaching.
I want to know this. How do you keep all these numbers in your brain so elaborately and so perfectly, like 2,713? I mean, how do you do that?
It is an oft repeated stat of mine. So You will hear me go, I better look that up if I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay. So what's the fun fact?
In utero, the first tiny little fetus, 6 weeks of life, we are all the greater sex. We are all tiny little baby fetus girls. And then testosterone comes out and ruins it all. But the nipples and the breast bud have already formed. So they just stick around and out for all of men's lives.
Isn't that something else? I know certain male friends that actually have like a 3rd or a 4th nipple. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's running down their side.
A supernumerary nipple. Yes. You know who you're in good company with? Harry Styles. So all of you men who feel unmanly with your 3 nipples, he has 4.
Wow. I mean, how did you find that out?
When I was writing my book and wanted to talk about supernumerary nipples, I just did a little Googling and boom, there he is. Mark Wallace. Just got Google info. It happens in 1 per 8,000 people, men and women.
Wow. My daughter and I, we just went to go see Harry Styles here in Austin, Texas, a couple of weeks ago. That guy can rock the house. He is something.
Oh, absolutely. Shaking that booty. So my friend had taken over just for part of the tour as his tour manager. And so she got us some very fine tickets, 5 of them. So for my 3 sons, Hubby and I, we all go. I think I'm going to be the coolest mom that these boys have ever seen on the planet. One of them fell asleep. The other one was like, it's so loud. And then the third one was standing there like, this is interesting. All these screaming, crying teenagers. So it was a little bit like, I guess they aren't ready for this. They were 13 though. Like, what's wrong with you boys?
Well, I'd say 90% of the audience were younger women, younger females.
So you were the coolest dad in town for sure that night.
But I couldn't believe how much love he poured out and how he just was running around that stage the whole time. He was into it. He was so into it.
I know. I think he feels super grateful for his rise to stardom. I think he even is like, what am I doing up here?
Yeah. He for sure. So Kristi, you identify yourself as a health warrior. And to me, you use a lot of language like couched in that terminology, right? I mean, we're going to crush cancer. And what's that? What is it on your shirt again?
Eat cancer.
There it is. Crush cancer. Yeah. And the way you talk about like phytonutrients and all these wonderful substances that are in plants. I mean, it is like really, it gets me when I'm listening to you talk, like super jazzed and like, yeah, I want to be part of that team.
Totally. Yeah. Like you chew down and swallow some turmeric and blueberries. And you're like, take that, cancer.
Exactly. So I want to jump into, and I know you've said this probably 1,000 times, but I want to do it. And then I want to like dive into a little bit of each of these 4 things. So you were recently on Rachel Ray.
I was.
Right? How was that? Was that fun?
Fantastic. She is the funniest host. She just like jives with you back and forth. It's so fun. I love being on her show.
Yeah. You guys had a really fun exchange about mushrooms and fungi and
Her fun guy husband. Yeah. It was cute.
Yeah. But I'd love for us to go through like the 4-plan attack that you've outlined. And I mean, when did you outline this? And I've seen a lot of big celebrities that are helping you get behind this 4-plan of attack.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Neil Barnard and I had a little powwow 4 years ago or so. And he was like, what do you think are the main controllable contributors to breast cancer? And without hesitation, from my evidence-based research, in my opinion, it's going to be eating, well, the risk factors are eating animal protein and fat. So conversely, eat a whole food plant-based diet. Number 2, being overweight or obese. So get to your ideal body weight and stay there. Number 3, being sedentary. So bust a move. And number 4, drinking alcohol. So cut back or stop.
Right. So let's start. If you don't mind, I'd like to spend a little time on each one of those.
Love it.
So let's start with, okay, you just named 4. Of those 4, if I only want to do one of those 4, which one would you recommend? What's the most important?
Eat plants.
Okay, eat plants.
It's on the shirt. It's like, you forget it. Just
all right. Talk to me about plants and why plants are so important in preventing and reducing our chances of breast cancer.
So I think what you need to realize in quite simple terms is that every time you chew and swallow, you're releasing chemicals and ingredients, like all the little cellular makeup of whatever you chewed and swallowed gets into your bloodstream, gets into your body, and starts bathing cells, right? So you want to think of your cells as sitting in this little bathtub. And if that cell happens to be mutated and is cancerous, you don't want what you just chewed and swallowed down to be feeding and fueling it. You don't want it to have its lavender salts and its little rubber ducky and the bubbles, right? You need it to be like in plain water, like, this isn't any good. Boop, apoptosis, I think I'll die now, right? So what feeds and fuels cancer? Estrogen. 80% of breast cancers are fed and fueled by estrogen. So your ovaries make estrogen. You don't have to do anything about that necessarily. If you have cancer, we sometimes shut them down. But, in your natural life, when you go through menopause, maybe we should acknowledge that we're done with the estrogen and find alternatives to hot flashes, mood swings, vaginal dryness, and the rest of menopause's gifts. In other words, don't take excessive estrogen in life. And then number 3, don't be overweight or obese. We'll get into that in more detail, but it has to do with the fact that fat makes yet more estrogen. But the 4th sneaky one that I don't think people think about is when you chew and swallow down an animal, it was a living being. It had estrogen and you're swallowing it down. And you probably aren't going to find any higher estrogen content in a food than in cheese, where you've got 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese, and you supersize that little cow that was, by the way, recently pregnant now, like a high estrogenic state its entire life. The second it can't make milk, gonzo, right? So these are high estrogenic foods. High IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, the big daddy that screams at everything, including your cancer, to grow bigger, grow into metastases. Number 3, angiogenesis, the birth of blood vessels to a tumor. You have to have angiogenesis occur if you are a cancer that aspires to be bigger than the tip of a ballpoint pen, which of course is every cancer's dream, right? So angiogenesis. And all of this kind of cascades into chronic inflammation, free radical formation, immune system damage. And now you're just kind of paralyzed. When a cell gets damaged, your immune system's like, I'm so busy over here dealing with all the inflammation, the estrogen, the IGF-1. Sorry, I didn't see that one happen. Oops, got away. So plants, on the other hand, quell all of that oxidative stress, that madness. One of my favorite studies was a very simple one. I don't think we talked about it before. It has to do with, they took 38 hyperlipidemic men and women, and they measured their hourly oxidized LDL cholesterol. So this is a measure kind of oxidative stress after a meal. Yeah. Oxidative stress, right, is that thing that's just like pounding at your cells all day long. We're kind of grateful for it in that free radicals make you breathe. So I'm grateful for that. Or if you cut yourself open, brings all the inflammation and healing to that area. But in excess, it's very damaging. So what happens when you take these 38 men and women and you give them a sad breakfast, right? Standard American diet, pancakes and eggs, steak and bacon. Then they measure their hourly cholesterol. Up, 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 noon. Hamburger and fries, up, 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 dinner. Okay, these people are going to bed every night with fewer antioxidants than when they woke up. Mm. So antioxidants are going to quell the oxidative madness. And really the only good place you ever find any antioxidants are in plants. There are 64 times the amount of antioxidants on average found in plants versus animals. For example.
Powerful. That's powerful.
It's so powerful because especially when you realize a mere wimpy, not wimpy, but just a mere cup of blueberries, which is completely something you could down easily any time of day, has the equivalent amount of antioxidants. So 1 little cup of blueberries, which is 57 calories and 0.3 grams of fat. How many slices of pizza do you think, Rip, you would have to eat? Because, your carnivore friends are going to be like, come on, there's antioxidants in meat and cheese.
Yeah. Is this a TGIF pizza, or where's the pizza from?
Domino's. Cheese pizza from Domino's.
Okay. I'm going to say 8 slices.
27.5.
That's ridiculous.
Right? For a mere 7,590 calories and 323 grams of fat. Or you can have the cup of blueberries. So back to our hyperlipidemic peeps, okay?
Yeah.
This is the beauty of the study. This will transform your eating forever, even if you are just kind of moving yourself closer, you're plant forward and not totally plant-based. Listen and learn. Same people, next day, same sad meal, pancakes and bacon with a cup of strawberries. Mm. Hourly oxidized LDL cholesterol, down, below baseline, down, and then up to normal for lunch. Hamburger and fries, 1 cup of strawberries. And now the strawberries are like, are you kidding me? So it inches up just a wee bit, up, dinner, back to baseline. Okay, so the antioxidant power in a mere cup of strawberries was so powerful to negate all of that oxidative madness that initially it actually went lower, but then it just basically nullified all of the madness that that terrible meal had caused in terms of oxidative stress. But what if, right? What if the meal had been steel cut oats and that cup of blueberries with some flax seeds, a little cinnamon, a couple of
talk to me, sister. Talk to me.
Right, and soy milk as your base. Okay, now all of a sudden, those phytochemicals, those plant-based chemicals, are going to take away the bubbles, take away the lavender salts, take away the little rubber ducky, and now the cancer cells like, where did it all go? Where's all my angiogenesis and my estrogen and my inflammation and my IGF-1? It's gone. Oh, I'm gone. Boom. Cancer cell eliminated. And now these chemicals are like, what else can we do today? Oh, atherosclerotic plaque. Let's just, I think I know a guy that in 2007 published a book all about preventing and reversing heart disease. I bet he eats oatmeal for breakfast.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right. So the point simply being from this major like eye opener for me when I was writing my book, Breast the Owner's Manual, which you displayed.
In 2016, right?
In 2017, I was writing it. It came out in 18.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And I was a Mediterranean diet, lean meats, chicken, turkey, fish, lots of fruits and veggies kind of girl, right? Never red or processed meat. Well, I had processed meat. I guess I had turkey slices, but they were organic, and that's okay, right? No, not right. But in that mindset, I was learning and writing and transforming my own belief system on how food affects health. And this study was such an eye-opener for me, as simple as it is. Are you kidding me? A cup of strawberries? That's not even the most antioxidant laden berry there is. So what if you had some Indian gooseberries there or blueberries? Anyway, the point about plants is that they do indeed have the power to be lowering estrogen, anti-angiogenic, squelching away the blood vessels that are nourishing that cancer. And then eventually when it gets to be a big enough thing, boom, exit strategy, straight through those same blood vessels to the brain, to the bone, to the liver, right? The person who has to slow that down is you. And it's so simple. You just chew and swallow. Let the food do its magic.
You mentioned a term earlier, and I'd love for you to let everybody know what it means. You said apoptosis.
Apoptosis is programmed cell death. But in easy layman's terms, it's cancer cell suicide. One of my favorite, did I already say one of my favorites? I say that a lot. It's the muffin study.
The muffin study? No, we haven't heard the muffin study.
Oh, let me introduce you to the muffin study.
That makes me think, though, of Shrek. You know, there was like a big muffin, I think, man or something. But okay.
Yeah, muffin man, exactly. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. Again, these are like simple little things that you add into your diet, and it's so transformative inside of your body. So flax seeds. Flax, you may know as the most concentrated form of healthy omega-3 fatty acids on the planet. Great. But what I love about flax even more is lignans. Lignans is a phytoestrogen, and it has incredible power to disable cancer cells. And let me demonstrate with a study. So this muffin study took 32 breast cancer patients who had had a biopsy of breast cancer. And on that little core that diagnosed the cancer, they ran 3 tests. One was to look at the Ki-67, which is the division rate on tumors. It answers the question, what percentage of cells are 1 becoming 2 right now? Ki-67. They looked at the expression of CERB2, a very aggressive marker, badness if it's high. And your favorite word and mine, apoptosis. What percentage of cells under this microscope here are actually imploding? Okay, so we got that data. Everybody gets a muffin, except half of you get a muffin stuffed secretly with 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds a day. The other has a placebo. A muffin a day. Nothing else was changed. This is slice of American pie people, right? These aren't all plant-based or whatnot people. They're just doing whatever they were doing otherwise, right? Probably having chicken for dinner. So muffin, vegan junk food, every day. Then they have their definitive surgery, lumpectomy, mastectomy, and the whole tumor's out. Let's look at it again. What did 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds do in a mere 5 weeks of time?
No idea.
Oh, I do. I know. I'll tell you. The Ki-67, the division rate, dropped by 34.2%. That would be over a third drop. The tumor's turning away, doubling itself, 34%. You have like a 1 centimeter cancer, generally about 3 to 6 months later, depending on what your age is. A 1 centimeter cancer dividing it, say, 60% would be 1.6 centimeters. Mm-hmm. How the division rate works. So now all of a sudden, just because you had some flax, 3 months later, it's 1.3 centimeters. Or no, down by a third, 1.4 centimeters. So that's my favorite one. I love Ki-67. The CERB2 expression dropped by 71%. And our favorite thing, apoptosis, increased by 30.7%. Just from flax. So again, what if it hadn't been just a junk food muffin and then your diet with pizza and chicken as, it normally was?
And all that sounds statistically significant, and it sounds like all the markers are moving in the right direction.
Exactly. They are all slowing the cancer down and disabling it from getting the things it needs to survive and thrive inside of you.
So before we finish talking about plant-based foods, I'm going to throw out some different ingredients that you make in your Dr. Kristi Funk, like world-renowned smoothie, right? Cancer-kicking compound smoothie.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with, you like 1.5 cups of soy. People are wigged out about soy. Let everybody know why whole soy, like soy milk, is not a bad thing.
Right. So it is not only not a bad thing, it's an extremely good thing and should be on your menu for 2 to 3 servings a day. So what exactly happened? Because I thought soy was a phytoestrogen. I hear the word estrogen. You just said 80% of cancers love it.
Yeah.
So I think I confessed a few thousand times now, but I feel like I need to just say it over again. So sorry if you were one of my patients for the 18 years that I screamed at you to spit the miso out of your mouth because it's an estrogen. What do you think you're doing? You have an estrogen cancer and you're just fueling it. You think that cancer cell cares with its discriminating taste of where that estrogen came from? I think not, my friend. Okay, I'm rethinking that.
Okay.
So I went into the data to prove with science and facts that stance was in fact correct. And so embarrassing, completely wrong. Let me tell you why. First of all, I think most of the bad rap came from a study that was like shot heard around the world, where mice were grafted with breast cancer tumors. I'm not a fan of animal studies, but we have this study, so we may as well learn from it, right? They grafted them with breast cancer, and they fed them soy, and all the cancers grew. Well, that's all I needed to know. Lady, you can't have soy. It makes breast cancer grow. If you are a mouse, so sometimes the data transfers well to humans, and a lot of drugs are developed that way, etc. But in this case, it turns out that mice metabolize isoflavones like genistein and daidzein very differently than humans. And in humans, it is breast cancer preventive. So let me explain. We have 2 receptors for estrogen in our bodies. Alpha is on the cancer cell. So when estrogen hits it, it tells the cell, hey, multiply and divide. But with 1,600% more affinity, the phytoestrogens in soy hit beta receptors, and beta receptors do some very fancy things. First of all, they shut alpha down. So it's off the cancer cell now. It has no antenna to get its fuel. And secondly, it goes out into your fat cells, where I already mentioned there's that aromatase enzyme making yet more estrogen, turns the enzyme off. And it doesn't have to do just with estrogen. We don't really understand all the benefits of soy because there are several studies that show a dramatic decrease in estrogen negative cancers. So it's more than just an anti-estrogen. It's anti-carcinogenic, anti-angiogenic on multiple levels. Every single human study ever done with soy and breast cancer, every single one uniformly shows a decrease in occurrence, recurrence, and death from breast cancer, whether you had never an estrogen positive or negative cancer. And generally, across all studies, it's at least a 30% drop. Some are as high as 60% drop in breast cancer occurrence, recurrence, and death. So
that's the real deal right there with soy.
That's the real deal because it's in humans with breast cancer. It doesn't get any more real than that. And there are multiple multi-ethnic studies. One of my favorite, most recent ones was from 2020. and it comes out of Loma Linda, where they followed 52,000 North American women. I particularly like this study because 29.7% of the patients were Black, and I think our African American sisters are definitely underrepresented in multiple studies, no matter what you're looking at. And in this particular study, in the follow-up of 7.9 years, there were 1,057 breast cancers that developed. Oh, let's have a look. Who got the most cancer? Well, the most cancer was in the highest, they compared it to dairy consumption and soy milk consumption. So the highest amount of breast cancer was in your highest dairy milk consumers. And interestingly, when you compared the highest dairy to dairy, so 90th percentile to 10th percentile of dairy milk consumers, cow milk, they had a 50% increase. So just the more milk you drink from a cow, the higher your risk. But what about the soy milk drinkers? They looked at the median intake. So this is average, because sometimes these studies, I think, can get a little skewed. You're like the highest versus the lowest consumers. Yeah. It's like, well, who drinks that much, really? So this was just your average amount. And I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a lot. It was like half a cup a day. If you drank soy milk, though, instead of dairy milk, you had a 32% drop in breast cancer. That's a beautiful study because it's so high volume in your number, right? 52,000, and longevity, almost 8 years. Yeah. But I could go on and on. I won't.
You could, you really could, but we got a lot of information that I want to cover here in 30 minutes.
I know, but I want to tell you one cool study because it's hot off the press, and I think you will love this.
Okay, yes.
I know you will love this, and you may not have heard about this one. So this was a study that just came out in June 2022. It's a cohort study over 12 years follow-up of 65,000 women that adhered to a plant-based diet. And what they found was that there was over a 20% increase in breast cancer risk for those amongst this group who followed an unhealthy plant-based diet. So we're all vegan in this cohort, but there's an unhealthy version and there's a healthy version. And I'm sure everyone listening and you can easily guess that the unhealthy version had a ton of processed foods, high in saturated fats, trans fats from our hydrogenated soybean oils, etc., processed foods, cookies, cakes, bagels, chips, crackers, etc. So it does matter what plant-based food you are putting in that mouth and swallowing down.
Absolutely. We're all about the whole food plant-based, not the processed. Well, I love the way too, when you're talking about soy products, you talk about how it prevents the occurrence, reoccurrence, and death, or helps slow that down, prevent it. You just rattle that off. Occurrence, reoccurrence, and death.
I said it before.
So what you also have cinnamon and turmeric and black pepper. Like, so what is it about these that you're so like fond of?
Right. So all of these are anti-inflammatories. Turmeric, if you don't know, is made 2,000% more bioavailable by combining it with the piperine from black pepper, and it is fat soluble. So when you're eating your turmeric with some pepper, it'd be nice to throw a healthy fat on there, like the flax seeds we just went through.
Right.
Turmeric has been compared in petri dishes to dripping curcumin, which is the bioactive ingredient, like the major one that turns your blender ochre yellow. So the curcumin drip drops versus the whole turmeric plant drip drops onto a petri dish filled with human breast cancer cells. Going head to head, turmeric wins. So while it's all healthy, and I don't want the best to victimize better, right? You got like good, better, best. That was always a saying in surgery. Like, stop. Don't go for best. You're at better. We could do harm if we go for best. You're not going to do harm with getting, a more whole food, eating the turmeric. But I just don't want you to think like, oh, I can't have the curcumin. Of course you can. Right. But that's interesting, right? Again, we're back to these synergistic effects in our whole foods over which we don't have complete knowledge, but just know that more of the whole food in its initial form is always more beneficial. So turmeric has been shown to stop tumor invasion. So the little life cycle of a cancer cell is first it mutates, then it proliferates in place, and then it invades through wherever it is. We could be talking about a breast milk duct for an invasive ductal cancer. We could be talking about a colon cell for an invasive colon cancer, a gastric, any cancer, right? It has to invade. Then it has to get into a blood vessel or lymphatic, and then it circulates. And then all of a sudden, boop, boop, it says, I want out, and it has to extravasate into the new organ where it invades again, liver, lung, brain, bone. Then it's like, oh man, I'm all alone here. I got to start all over again. I need whatever, estrogen, angiogenesis, some VEGF factors, etc. And then I'm going to multiply and divide in place, take this organ down, and that ultimately leads to someone's death from cancer because it's in an organ you cannot live without, like lung, liver, brain, or bone. Whereas breast cancer in a breast will never kill you. It has to go somewhere and shut something else down.
Yeah.
Turmeric stops that whole process. Like at every point, it's like, no, you're not invading today. No, you're not getting your angiogenesis today.
I'm going to come back to your smoothie in a second, but I want to take a quick detour because you mentioned it invades organs and then death. And I saw on your Instagram.
And that was so uplifting.
But you had a post about Kelly Preston, John Travolta's wife who died of breast cancer. And you mentioned in it, the question was, does a pregnancy at 48 elevate her breast cancer risk factor? And in your opinion, does it?
So the evidence shows it's sort of a mixed bag. So yes, it elevates cancer risk, but only for the decade after pregnancy. And we're talking about it elevating cancer risk relative to a nulliparous woman, which is the doctor talk for never having had a full-term pregnancy. Oh. So it elevates it about 40% higher than the nulliparous woman, but only for the decade after that pregnancy. And then you actually have decreased risk relative to the nulliparous woman. Why? A couple of reasons. It is a high estrogenic state when you're pregnant and lactating. And so if there's already a mutated cell in your breast, it's going to get stimulated. So the pregnancy itself didn't cause the mutation. It already existed there in like a tiny little form. And now all of a sudden it came to light. So probably you're just being diagnosed maybe 5 years before you otherwise would have had this cancer. Yeah.
So you have some stats that I find to be truly interesting. And one of them is you say that only about 5% of breast cancer in women are under the age of 40. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you said has been holding stable since about 2005. Because right. I think most people, most women, most humans probably are not aware that the vast majority of breast cancer hits women when they're over age 40.
Indeed. So those are not my stats, but the stats of the American Cancer Society, just in case anyone's wondering where I come up with that. And so the median age, the average age in America where you get breast cancer is 62, which actually then means that, half of women are at or above 62 and half of women are under 62. And I love dispelling this fear and myth for women because a lot of women know, 1 in 8 gets breast cancer. Mm-hmm. That ultimately is a 12.8% lifetime chance. So if you wake up every morning thinking you have a 12.8% chance of getting breast cancer diagnosed today, you might feel like you're all going to have it by next summer, right? So the breakdown that I want you to understand is how old are you? And here's your risk of getting breast cancer this decade. So if you're 20-something, the chance of getting breast cancer between 20 and 30 is 1 in 1,479 women. Between 30 and 40, it's 1 in 209. Between 40 and 50, it's 1 in 65. Between 50 and 60, it's 1 in 42. Between 60 and 70, it's 1 in 28. Between 70 and 80, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
1 in 25. So this is our highest risk decade of life in which to get breast cancer, 70 to 80.
Wow.
And then 80 to 90 is 1 in 33. So when you add in all the 1-ins that I just went through, you end up with a lifetime risk of 1 in 8. But it isn't 1 in 8 every day of your life.
Got it. And then you also, have the number or the CDC or American Cancer Society, that is only 5 to 10% of breast cancer is inherited as an inherited genetic mutation.
Right. So we're talking about genes that you get from mom or dad, like BRCA, CHEK2, PALB2, and these create a very strong genetic predisposition to getting breast and other cancers associated with that mutation because it's broken. So most of these mutations are like fixer genes. For example, BRCA. When your BRCA is broken, it doesn't do its job. We all have BRCA. two of them, and they function. And when they do, they see a breast or an ovarian or pancreatic or a melanoma cell, and it's like swoops in and fixes the DNA mutation or throws it away. But when you have a mutated BRCA, you can't fix those mutations. Mm-hmm. I'm super interested to see what comes down the pike in the next 10 to 20 years as more research unveils how to awaken or unmutate the mutated BRCA, because I think food can play a big part in that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think we talked last time about how, if genes at the high end are responsible for 10%, let's say of breast cancer, 80 to 90% are because of our lifestyles, right? And
absolutely.
Which is why we're going through these 4 steps that are crucial. And I'm sorry, I have to keep looking at the clock because the information you're packing in here is wonderful. And so I'm going to move faster and just say, people, go to pinklotus.com and check out your smoothie, because it is packed with, bananas, berries, Indian gooseberries, ancient maca green tea, even like aloe, some sort of aloe that you put in there. I thought aloe was just for my skin.
I know. Imagine, you put it on your skin not to make it like soft and supple, right? It's for a burn. Like, it's potent anti-inflammatory stuff. So we found a company that can cold process the entire leaf. You don't lose any of the phytonutrients, and you swallow it down and it gets inside your cells. Talk about squelching inflammation. Yeah. It also has this mucopolysaccharide called acemannan that degrades estrogen receptors off cancer. Just
mucopolysaccharide. Look at you, just flows right off the tongue. So speaking of flowing off the tongue, when you're on Rachel Ray, you talked about how the food of the year is the mushroom. And so for people, tell people why they should eat white mushrooms and how beneficial they are for lowering estrogen capacity.
Yeah. So this particular study was a meta-analysis, and it found that the highest versus lowest mushroom consumers had 35% less breast cancer. But what I love is that the very fancy, expensive ones that you think would have to be the winners, like the portobello and the crimini, et cetera, shiitake, while they are potent anti-inflammatory, anti-aging mushrooms, the absolute runaway winner for lowering estrogen and therefore breast cancer was the lowly white button.
Oh, and please. No, I can't. I couldn't go to that.
So it's on every salad bar. What? The white button in one study of Chinese women lowered the breast cancer incidence by 64%. And you probably are thinking to yourself, okay, but how many white buttons do I have to eat a day? Like 400?
Yeah.
No, it was 10 grams. It's basically a half a white button, the size of the tip of your thumb.
Oh.
So shroom it up, people. Whole food shrooms.
Okay, let's move on. Plant-based, I think people get it. Exercise regularly. That's number 2 for you.
Exercise is amazing. So it decreases estrogen levels. There's that bad actor again, but it enhances fat metabolism. It lowers inflammatory markers, and it strengthens your immune system. So much so that your question should be, does it really lower your incidence of breast cancer? And indeed it does. So one favorite study, did I say that? Yes, I did, twice, of mine, though, because it makes people go like, oh, okay, that's doable. It was a prospective study following 17,000 women for, I forget how many years, but they followed them. Those who briskly walked, okay, so it was just like power walking. You could chit chat with your neighbor there, right? For 11 minutes a day, had an 18% drop in breast cancer. So exercise, just getting a move on, matters so much. And if you really want to take it seriously, so most people at this point are like, well, how much do I really have to do, though, to see a benefit? Yeah. Ideally, just move more. I'm happy. I'm happy if you decide to be like me and not have a desk in your office and stand all the time, or park farther away when you're going to the grocery store or the pharmacy, or take the stairs. A nice trick is if you work in a building that has different levels, walk the stairs to a different department to go pee, and then walk the stairs back up. Why are you using the bathroom right across the hall? So just little things to make you, dusting and with gusto as you.
Yeah. So you have 3 sons. Are they triplets? Is that right?
They are.
Yeah. So do you have dance parties where you guys all dance?
That is so cringe. I can't even tell you.
What does that mean? Cringe. What does that mean?
that means your kids can't even be seen with you in front of themselves alone when you do something like that.
Well,
I used to. Let's say the dance parties are in the past.
All right, we're doing one tonight, and we're going to play Harry Styles. So do you have chairs in your house, in your home?
We do, but we don't use them. We always end up standing around the kitchen counter eating. We hardly ever sit at the table. It might be because of all the boys jump on top.
So I want to repeat a stat that I think I heard, and that was that you said estrogen fuels 80% of breast cancers. Estrogen, so if we can eat plant-based, which brings down estrogen levels, if we can exercise, which brings them down, I mean, that's incredibly powerful. What about alcohol? Yes.
So alcohol, let's just continue the theme, increases estrogen levels.
Oh my gosh.
How did you guess that? I knew where you were going. But it also just, let's face it, is a carcinogen, straight up carcinogen. It forms acetaldehyde largely in your liver, but even if you just swish and spit alcohol out, it's already metabolized into this potent carcinogen, acetaldehyde, in your mouth, and then you swallow it down. It also impairs immune system function, and perhaps the biggest driver is that it inactivates MTHFR, which is not a bad word. It is an enzyme, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, which takes your folic acid from vitamins and folate from your leafy greens and turns it into the magic methylfolate, which, very much like a BRCA gene, will run around and babysit the DNA as it divides, fixing it if it makes a mistake. So when you drink, you knock out your MTHFR. When you drink, you may be one of the 30 to 50% of people on the planet who genetically have a suboptimal MTHFR. So now you've really whacked it out for the day. So you're not making any methylfolate, so your DNA is not getting itself babysat. So a drink a day in premenopausal women will increase breast cancer by 7% per drink. So go up from there if you're more than one drink a day. A drink a day in postmenopausal women will increase breast cancer by 13%. 2 drinks a day, 26%, and so on and upwards. So you do want to minimize or eliminate alcohol. Honestly, if you don't drink now, don't start.
Do you drink at all?
I do have red wine on occasion. Red wine, of all the alcohols, it might have a little bit of redemptive qualities in the resveratrol. Admittedly, again, get it from the skin of red grapes, the kind with seeds, or blueberries. That you do not need to drink wine to get resveratrol. And it also, red wine is the only alcohol that has a estrogen lowering capacity. It's an aromatase inhibitor.
Yeah. I just did a retreat in Sedona with about 90 people. And there was a group of 4 girlfriends who all decided to come in their 50s. And they all had gotten off alcohol in the last year. And they said their lives were so enhanced, so much better once they got off the alcohol for a myriad of reasons. But I just think it's, in this culture, alcohol is looked upon as such a must-have when you're socializing, and that you can't have fun without it. Right. I am so dead set against that mentality, and I'm just trying to get people to get off alcohol. It's not doing anybody really any favors. And I love the fact that in one of your promotions for your for your 4 methods of decreasing breast cancer, you had, of all people, you had Ted Danson telling people to limit alcohol consumption.
Our favorite bartender of all time.
Exactly. I don't know how you did it, but it's awesome. Maybe it was
you want to know a funny story?
Yeah.
So one night, Andy and I came home we were out at a party, and Ted Danson, we've since moved, but Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen lived next door. So we pull up to our house, and we're pulling in, and all of a sudden we hear this crash. And I jump out of the car and walk back. A man who was high or inebriated on something had smashed into their SUV, which rolled forward and smashed into their other SUV because they didn't have a driveway. They parked on the street. It's 11:30 at night. And we had just moved in like a month prior. So I come running over, they come running out. And so we kind of deal with that situation a bit. And then when things calmed down, the ambulance came and took the guy away. I got some big brooms, and we were cleaning all the glass out of the street. And I said hi to Mary and said who I was. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I know because you're friends with Cheryl Crow. It was like a cute little, like, I know who you are, which made me feel like warm and fuzzy. But then Ted and I were cleaning up the glass together, and he's next to me. He's like, well, Kristi, I will never forget the day I met you.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to number 4. I think we understand alcohol. And there was a recent study from the Lancet that talked about how the safest amount of alcohol is the least amount. And, again, just to hammer that point home for everybody. Number 4 is maintain a healthy weight. We're going into the holidays right now. And I just saw something that said on average, people gain 7 pounds over the holidays. That is
hard to do if you're eating whole food plant-based.
I would say almost impossible.
Yeah.
So why does losing weight help reduce our risk?
It does. So be a loser. So be a quitter when it comes to smoking and be a loser when it comes to weight. Be a quitter when it comes to alcohol, and be a loser of weight by eating whole food plant-based. That can do wonders for weight loss. If you're heavy on the saturated fats, it's pretty easy to start melting away excess pounds. The big connection is, again, I mentioned it several times, that fat has an enzyme aromatase. It's taking adrenal gland steroids like androstenedione, making it into estrogen. A recent study from 2022 showed that if you were lean at age 20 and gain an average of 22 pounds, you increase breast cancer risk by 40%. So gaining weight is a bad idea throughout life. It's true that premenopausal, chubby, overweight women actually have some sort of poorly understood protective mechanism against breast cancer, but you're not going to melt those pounds magically at menopause. It's only going to get harder. And definitely postmenopausal, overweight women have almost double the risk of getting breast cancer, and between 50 and 250% more breast cancer recurrence and death, solely attributable to the weight. So interestingly, it's not just estrogen production. There's burgeoning research, it's all from 2019 to 2022, that is talking about how leptin and the leptin receptor, it's agonist. So leptin, if you don't know, is produced and secreted into your circulation mainly by adipose, by fat tissue. And then once leptin binds to its receptor, it crosstalks with multiple oncogenes, which then ignite numerous signaling pathways that release pro-inflammatory cytokines and growth factors. And the end game, bottom line, breast cancer initiation, progression, and metastasis. The second thing being overweight does is you have this adipose chronic inflammation, this simmering all day long, that's because of the inflammatory cytokines. And we've seen that this adipose chronic inflammation promotes cancer growth, metastatic spread, angiogenesis, all these words I've been saying this whole day. It modifies immune responses. So when your T cells are let's get after that, cancer cell can't, because it just got the oncogene stuff got changed by the adipose to mediate the response in a negative way. And it interferes, get this, with hormonal or chemotherapeutic treatments, thus worsening cancer prognosis. So that's the big connection. This adipocyte chronic inflammation is stopping the efficacy, how effective your medications are. If you're a breast cancer thriver in the battle of it all, getting chemo, getting aromatase inhibitors, getting tamoxifen, it is not negated, but significantly decreased in effectiveness. Hence, that's why I just said overweight and obese women have 50 to 250% more recurrence and death. And the final connection between fat and breast cancer and a worse prognosis is insulin. So BMI, body mass index, correlates directly to circulating insulin, and insulin activates aromatase. Great. So we're making more estrogen. Insulin directly stimulates the growth and invasion of breast cancer cells, and insulin decreases IGF-1 binding protein, the little body snatcher that gets your IGF-1 lower. So guess what? It's just freely running around because nobody's snatching it. So it elevates your IGF-1, which then just leads to all the IGF-1 related badness that we talked about in videos past. I'm not done with insulin. It stops apoptosis. There's our favorite word again. It's hey, cancer cell, don't implode. Keep on going. Keep on growing. And finally, it elevates VEGF, which is this cytokine that promotes angiogenesis. Okay, being overweight or obese is definitely bad, but the beauty is if you lose the weight, you lose your risk, so be a loser, like we said.
Wow. It's amazing to me how you just put all that together to help, I think, all of us realize how interconnected everything is. And between, anyway, it's jaw dropping to me. Let's talk about some of your initiatives that you're doing or you've done and maybe are still going on, like Breast Buddies and local chapters.
Yes, thank you for asking.
Yeah, go for it.
So everybody out there, just man, woman, or child, can be a part of our local chapters. We currently have 25 throughout the country in major cities. And these are groups that simply get together to walk the talk. We run, bike, hike, cook, camp. I have a 5-day fast coming up in the LA chapter because I don't like it when I have to do my 5-day fast, which I do every 4 months. So I want us to be miserable together on Zoom at night. So does that sound like fun? No.
I got to stop you for a sec because we're not going to be able to get to it because we're going to run out of time because both you and I have things we have to get to right now. But I want to have you back really soon to talk about all the benefits of fasting and fasting mimicking diet and all the 5-2, the 16-8 protocol, time restricted feeding. I'm fascinated by that. So yes.
I'm all over it. Yeah. So join your local chapter. It's totally free and it's just about community and camaraderie, and the kids can come, the significant others can come. It's fun. Now, just for my breast cancer thrivers out there, we have Breast Buddies. This is like a sacred program to me, and you actually have to kind of go through a couple of channels to become a breast buddy because we want to make sure you're not like a weird old man or something. So the breast buddies are specifically pairing newly diagnosed women with those who have been there, done that, but stage for stage, age for age, treatment for treatment. So you can go in there and be like, I'm 42, stage 2, chemotherapy, lumpectomy, radiation, and like Match.com for breasts. All these women who are plus or minus 5 years your age, but chose your exact same treatments will populate. But they've been there, they're done. So they're there solely for the purposes of psychosocial support and community and just friendship, which you can be a voyeur and just kind of look at who matches you and be like, oh, well, look, she has a 10-year-old son. So do I. I want to talk to her about how she parented throughout all that chemo or whatnot. So it's a really beautiful program. There are thousands of members, so you are very likely to find a match. And one of the reasons I and my husband Andy created it was because I read a study, LACE, Life After Cancer Epidemiology study, that came out in 2012, and it followed over 2,200 early stage breast cancer patients for an average of 10.8 years, and those reporting out low levels of psychosocial support and or a lack of religious affiliation were 58% more likely to have died in the decade of follow-up, solely attributable to the lack of connection. And you know what? Not everybody has a BFF. Not everybody likes their family. So everyone can have a breast buddy, and I really encourage you to tell your friends or family members about it who have or had breast cancer. We've got a ton of other stuff going on. Just check out pinklotus.com/powerup. Not only is there my super fun cook live. Rip, did you see?
Oh my God. No, I have. I can't believe that was like at the top of the thing I was going to mention is cook live with Kristi and Dr. Kristi. I can't believe you've hooked up with Kristi Roth. She is so wonderful and so like wanting people to become whole food plant-based with her husband. It's beautiful.
Yeah, she's so genuine and she has a deep knowledge of plants and has been vegan for a decade. And I just watched your Thanksgiving one where you made that kind of that meatloaf.
The meatloaf. And you guys have a great chemistry. It's a great show.
And I think your viewers will love it because I always like throw in a little like the other day with this one, I was talking about why chickpeas. And it turns out it inhibits that invasion that I was talking about, the matrix metalloproteinases that drill through the breast cell wall, colon cell wall. Chickpeas, stop it. What?
That's right. They stop all those ne'er-do-wells. What about coffee? I mean, should I wake up to coffee or not? Talk to me.
Wake up to coffee, my friend. It is completely safe in terms of breasts or any other. It actually has been shown in multiple studies to decrease breast cancer risk. However, it is a high amount. It's 5 cups a day. So if that's going to make you bounce off walls, don't do it. I will say 2 things. If your breasts hurt, if you have breast cysts, being highly caffeinated may worsen that condition, but neither pain nor cyst is cancer. So that's just that. It doesn't cause cancer. The methylxanthines are thought to be maybe the protective effect. Now, watch what you're putting in your coffee. I drink mine black.
Right.
If I'm done with my 16/8 fasting that I do every day, I might have a little soy milk in it, unsweetened, just made from organic soybeans and water. But watch out, the soy mocha latte is going to be filled with lots of sugar and saturated fat and stuff you don't want. So I'm easy on what you're putting in that coffee.
Well, it's interesting because I literally just today read one of Dr. Greger's posts about how milk in coffee actually negates all the beneficial properties in that coffee. And I know that you recently were with him at the 10th Annual International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference. How was that meeting Dr. Greger? A while?
It was a wow moment. He is just such a generous, sweet soul. I mean, I screamed across the room. He endorsed my book. And so we've talked many times on email. So we're email friends, but we've actually never seen each other. So I was like, after my lecture, I was like, he's way over there. And I was way over, and I just screamed out, Dr. Greger! And I go running like a crazy fangirl, and throw my arms around him. Luckily, his wife wasn't around. But I have a very sweet picture with him and my 3 sons at the conference. It was delightful.
I saw it. It is really nice. Question: what about sparkling water? Any thoughts on sparkling water versus still water? Like anything bad with sparkling water, or nothing to it?
I got nothing there unless you want to enlighten me. I will say
I got nothing.
You have some bloating. You probably don't want to drink down the air.
I don't understand why the women and the girls in my house, we go through, I don't know how many cases of the sparkling water. I don't like sparkling water. It doesn't satiate my thirst. But anyway, we have a $100 a month habit of these sparkling waters.
So you probably then should invest in that bubble maker machine.
We already did, but forever.
Soda water thing.
Yeah.
I would caution, I guess, if you have heart disease or hypertension, some of the bottled waters do have a high sodium content. So just check that if that matters for you.
Yeah. All right. We got 1 minute. The floor is yours. Anything you want to say? Where can people go for more information on Dr. Kristi Funk? So
pinklotus.com is a wealth of information. So from there, you can segue into Power Up. That's our active community. You'll find the kitchen there, the cook lives. I have my annual summit that is also available virtually for download and watching now. 11 and a half hours of me talking about this stuff and way more. So there are 10 big segments I have in that summit, and eating is just one of them. So I have 9 more that I deep dive. It's all research-based. I'm very proud of the summit. It's just moi talking. So people are like, I could listen to her talk forever. I'm like, I hope you mean it, because the summit kind of feels like that. And I have Pink Lotus Elements, which is a very intelligent women's health store. It's the largest women's online health store. And it all has to do with products that I've seen over my 20 plus years as a breast cancer surgeon are vetted with randomized controlled trials, or just from my own trial and error. I see that these products really help women make a difference before, during, and after a breast cancer diagnosis. And especially 2 big winners in there: Menopause Miracle, so a non-estrogenic herb that really handles almost every menopause symptom that you could possibly throw at me. And number 2 that I love, because it works so well, is Saffrony. It's just the herb saffron, but it's a medically tested dose of saffron that works against ADHD and mood disturbances, anxiety, depression. People love it. So check out the store. It's filled with all sorts of vetted goodness. And finally, if you need me, if you'd like a personal consultation, either just to reduce risk because your family tree is crazy with breast cancer, or you yourself have a new diagnosis, or you were diagnosed years ago, but you feel like, I may be needing a little refresher on how to make sure this never comes back, I would love to talk to you. You don't have to live in LA. pinklotus.com/breast center. Just click on the breast center and contact us. I'd love to meet you.
Well, you are saving the breasts of America, truly. And I love the way, whether it's the morning shows, ABC Good Morning America, Rachel Ray, you're so forthright as far as, listen, the number one thing that we can do, is eat a whole food, plant-based diet. And you're not holding back. You're not saying, flexitarian, Mediterranean. You're not dancing around like the bullseye. And I love that. You're just you're the bomb.
Oh, coming from you, that's so sweet. It means so much.
All right.
For everything you're doing on this planet to promote a plant-based diet. And of course, I love your family to pieces.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next time we're going to talk fasting. Okay.
Indeed we will.
All right. Hey, hit me. A little Plant Strong love right here.
Okay.
Boom. That's a wrap. I want to thank Kristi for always shooting straight and being such an advocate for breast health. Her resources are unparalleled, and I would encourage you to visit Pink Lotus. That's PINKLOTUS, pinklotus.com, for all of her resources, including Breast Buddies, her live cooking classes, and so much more. We can crush cancer if we move our bodies, get rid of that alcohol, find our ideal body weights, and of course, always keep it plant strong. I hope to see you next week. Thanks so much. The Plant Strong podcast team includes Carrie Barrett, Lori Kordowich, Amy Mackey, Patrick Gavin, and Wade Clark. This season is dedicated to all of those courageous truth seekers who weren't afraid to look through the lens with clear vision and hold firm to a higher truth. Most notably, my parents, Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr. and Ann Cryle Esselstyn. Thanks for listening.